Today, we're going to go over how I would rank a roofing company. All right, so this is how I would rank a roofing company out of Fort Worth, Texas. So, roofing company, and we're going to be out of Fort Worth, Texas. So, what we're going to cover today is first thing, we're going to go over the Google business profile. As a subcategory, we're going to go over being a serviced area based profile versus a verified location. We're going to talk about the primary category. Then we'll go over services on the Google business profile. Then we'll also talk about naming the Google business profile or the name of your roofing company. And below, you'll see for this YouTube video are going to be chapters. So if you're wanting to skip to certain sections, you can. Those will be down below. You can kind of like hover over them with your mouse. So if there's something that you're currently struggling with, you can go ahead and skip to these sections. Then we're going to talk about the website. We're going to talk about page structure or internal linking. So for internal linking, we'll talk about like creating silos where we'll force certain pages to link to our money pages, the pages we want ranking in Google. We'll also talk about money pages. What are money pages? Then we'll talk about blog content, why create blog content, and then yeah, that'll be it for the website. Oh, we'll talk about static HTML versus JavaScript, and then like a sub point under the static HTML versus JavaScript for a roofing company. We'll talk about site speed. This will be more of a CRO than a ranking factor. Okay, so for ranking a roofing company out of Fort Worth, Texas, let's start with the Google business profile. So a roofing company in Fort Worth, Texas, Google business profile. And from here on out, I'm going to say GBP to make it easy. That's the acronym for Google business profile. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the service area based profile or SAB. So when you're setting up your roofing company in Fort Worth, Texas, you do not want to be a serviced area based profile. What you want to have is when you set up the profile, that little thing you click to say show address to customers, that's what you want. You want to be a verified, a physical location verified Google business profile. If you're a serviced area based profile, what's going to happen is that whenever someone goes in Google and types in roofer near me, then you get the 3-pack, right? What happens is that you're going to fall out of this 3-pack. And what's going to happen is you're going to start ranking in the 6th position. You're going to go even further below. If we have that verified address, this is when you're going to start appearing more often in this 1st position, in this 2nd position, in this 3rd position when people are searching in Google. So first thing for the roofing company, we need a verified address location. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the primary category. So as a roofing company based out of Fort Worth, Texas, your Google business profile primary category needs to be roofing contractor. You have to best match your primary category on your Google business profile to your business, to the service or products that you actually offer. Now, let's say you're a roofing company, you're in Fort Worth, and you also do bathroom remodeling. Or let's say that you think you should put general contractor because you maybe do some other work on the other side, right? In these instances, so you also offer bathroom remodeling and your general contractor, this is when I would recommend getting a second Google Business Profile. And so let's say you did bathroom remodeling. So for bathroom remodeling, that would get its own Google Business Profile. Then we can start ranking that profile for that specific service. But for your primary category, your primary service that your business offers, we want it to be specifically for roofing. Now, if you offer these other services, this is when you start getting that second Google Business Profile or even that third Google Business Profile. Let's say you wanted to rank for not only roofing contractor, but you also wanted to have a Google Business Profile for bathroom remodeling, and then have a Google Business Profile for general contractor work, right? Not only can we start getting into the second and third Google Business Profiles, but you can also start getting into the second and third websites. Then we can target specific keywords with each of these. So you can get brand new domains for your second and third Google Business Profile, and then we can start ranking those for those very specific keywords, those very specific terms for bathroom remodeling and general contractor. Then we still have the original website, the original Google Business Profile for specifically roofing. So that's the primary category. Now we're going to talk about the services on the Google Business Profile. So as a roofing company based out of Fort Worth, Texas, what we want to start doing is getting services listed on the Google Business Profile. So after you've listed the services and what services should you list, we'll talk about in a second. But after each time we go and put a service, right? So you'll go into the little box and you'll type in roofing contractor. Then you'll hit submit. We're going to go back in to the Google Business Profile for each of these services that we've listed, and we're going to add a description. So this is when you're going to write a 2 to 3 sentence description for each service that you place on the Google Business Profile. So when you're going to place these services, when you're thinking about what are you going to place, you're going to place keywords or terms that common people search, like roof repair as a service, right? Or you can do shingle repair, or we can even do shingle replacement. What we want to do is each of our services that we're putting on the Google Business Profile need to match or be relational to the company as a roofing company, right? What we don't want to do is start putting services like bathroom remodeling, right? Because this is incongruent. This doesn't match our primary category as a roofing contractor. This doesn't match what our roofing company does, right? So then you also want to start getting into some more keywords and keyword variations. And a good goal to have is after setting up the profile, you want to have 5 services. Then over time, like a week later, you'll add another 5. And then one more week, we'll add another 5. Now, depending on the competition, depending on what's going on around you, we may have to go more than this. But for right now, a good goal is 15 services. They're all going to match different keywords, but they're all going to be relational to roofing. We're not going to start putting bathroom remodeling or general contractor services or keywords or terms underneath the profile. So that's services. So then now we're going to talk about the name of the Google Business Profile. So as a roofing contractor out of Fort Worth, Texas, what we want to do is on our Google Business Profile name, we want to have a keyword in the name. So what we don't want to do is keyword stuff. So we want to keep it very simple, keep it like a branded term, maybe like the first name. So for me, I would do Chris's Roofing, or we could do Chris Roof Repair, or we can do Chris Roofer, right? So these are all including the keyword, right? We got roofer, we got roof repair, we got roofing. in the Google Business Profile name. So if you don't currently have a keyword in your Google Business Profile name, what you can do is file a do business as with your state to then, what this allows you to do is you can amend or you can just start serving, operating under that new business name. So we can amend it. So let's say yours was Bucksworth. We can then now change that to Bucksworth Roofing. We want that keyword in our Google Business Profile name. All right. So next we're going to talk about the website for a roofing company based out of Fort Worth. So for this roofing company out of Fort Worth, Texas, what we want to do is we want to have a keyword in the domain name. Now, you can also do an exact match domain. We could do roofing Fort Worth. The likelihood of getting this domain, though, is going to be really low. It's a pretty competitive environment, but we could try to get that exact match domain. Or what we could do is, as an example, we named my Google Business Profile Chris's Roofing. So then what we could do is chrisroofing.com, right? We just want a keyword relational to the service or the company, right? We're a roofing company, so we want roofing, we want roofer, maybe roof repair in the domain name. So whenever you go to register that domain, get a keyword in there. All right, so now we're going to talk about page structure and internal linking. So as a roofing company based out of Fort Worth, Texas, for our internal linking structure, what we want to do is properly internal link all of our pages so that Google finds all the URLs, which are the pages, and then goes and crawls all of them. We want to achieve a full crawl depth by properly internal linking everything. And then we also want to do is we want to file them or silo them down. So when we go create blog content, we want all of those to be linking to our money pages. So first we're going to talk about internal linking, then we'll talk about money pages. So for internal linking for a roofing company out of Fort Worth, Texas, what I mean by this is, let's say that we have 6 pages. We want to have links going out to all of these pages. Now, you can do this in your sitemap.xml. You can also make your own sitemap. You can do a sitemap that is HTML that you place in the footer. And all a sitemap is a list of all links. So all of the pages, all of the URLs on your site need to be placed in your sitemap.xml. And then you can go and create your own. You can basically just convert that one to a static HTML page. That also is another place for all of your URLs or links to be found. Then, so for our 6 pages, what we want to do is, this will be the home page. Let's say this is a blog page. Let's say this is a service page. We've got a service page. We've got an about page, and then we've got a location page, right? Very super simple 6-page website. We want to make sure that each page is being linked to. So the home page will have some navigation in the header, and we can also have navigation in the footer to help achieve this. But then also in our individual pages, we want to be linking to other pages. Now, as an example, with the service page, right? If we had other service pages as well, we would want to make sure that these are all linking to each other so that each time Google comes by, because we have everything properly interlinked, Google's then going to discover all of these pages and come by more often and crawl them more often, which is going to help with our indexing. And it's going to help whenever we update the on-page optimization on our roof repair page as an example. So let's say we have our roofing repair page here, and this section is intentionally left blank, right? So Google comes by, crawls all of this, sees all of the content, and then we notice that our rankings aren't as high as we would like them for our roof repair page, right? So what we do is we go and we add more SEO or on-page SEO to this section of the page. And because we have all this proper internal linking, we have all of these links pointing to this page, Google's going to find that a lot sooner than if we didn't link. So what I mean by that is if you don't properly interlink, it can take a week or more for Google to come by and find all of that new on-page. All right, so now we're going to talk about money pages. So as a roofing company, what are money pages? So whenever someone searches in Google for roofing company, the page, the money page we want in that first position when they search. So we got the first, we've got the second position here, then we've got the third position. So the page that we want in this first position is our money page. So when you go to pick a money page or when you go to design a money page, this page's goal is to rank for a keyword. It's to convert someone searching for that keyword. So anytime someone searches for a roofing company, I have my money page. My money page is SEO optimized with on-page SEO, with internal linking, with external links to rank for that very specific search term. That money page, its only goal is to rank for that keyword. And now it can rank for very similar or horizontal keywords, but we're going to optimize it for the top level, the main keyword, right? The keyword that we know when we convert somebody from it leads to high revenue generated, right? So that's a money page. A money page is for a very specific keyword. So if you're wanting to rank for roof leak repair, you need to create a new money page to rank for that very specific keyword, that very specific term. So as a roofing company, when we're siloing to money pages, when we're pointing internal links to money pages, what we want to do is we're going to create blog content, right? From this blog content or from our service pages or from our locations pages, right? From these three sources, we are going to link to our money page. Now, a money page is a page that is supposed to rank for a very specific keyword. So in this example, we're going to say that our money page is trying to rank for roofing company in Fort Worth, Texas. This is our keyword. This is our money page. So we are going to silo links to this page. So what does that look like? We're going to go and create blog content. This is a blog page. This is a blog page. This is a blog page, right? So these are all going to talk about roofing. And then this one down here is going to be a things to do in Fort Worth, Texas. So this blog's only goal is to add geographic relevance, to talk about tourist attractions, museums, the things to do in Fort Worth, Texas, right? And then in this blog, we're going to have a link to our money page. This anchor text for the link is going to be the keyword we're wanting to target. So our money page is going to target roofing company in Fort Worth, Texas. Our anchor text, our link from our things to do in Fort Worth, Texas page, blog content, is then going to link to this money page, to blogging. Now, these blog pages may just have relevant content about roofing that are also going to link back to this money page. And this is how we're going to start siloing to our money page. This is going to help boost its rankings in search for whenever someone goes and searches for roofing company in Fort Worth, Texas. Our page is going to start appearing higher and higher in search. Now, this is going to stop at a certain point. That's when you need to start considering backlinks or other methods. Now we're going to talk about why blog as a roofing company. Why do we create blogs on our site? We create blogs on a roofing company site for relevance and authority in the subject matter. So we'll go and write these blogs, right? These are blogs. And what this does is that this will build up our domain, our website, up with Google with all this relevant content that we have, right? This is not only relevant to roofing, but is also relevant to our geographic area that we serve, which is Fort Worth. So some of these, or a couple of these, are going to be tourist attractions, things to do in Fort Worth. This is going to give Google more information, more relevant information on where we are geographically, right? Then also we're going to start talking about our expertise. How much do shingles cost to get replaced? What does that look like, getting your shingles replaced? What does it look like to get a full roof replacement? We're going to demonstrate our authority on the subject matter in this blog content, and then we're going to link back from all of these blogs. All of these blogs are going to link back to our money page. This money page is the page we want ranking in Google for whenever someone searches for roof replacement or a roofer near me, right? So that's why we create blog content. So now we're going to talk about static HTML versus JavaScript. So having your site be static HTML versus JavaScript for a roofing company, what you need to be aware of is that when you're static, every time Google comes by to crawl your site, basically crawling is looking at all of the content on site to get an understanding of, okay, what is this website about, right? So if you're static HTML, every time Google comes by to crawl, it will always see the content on your page. It will see all of the SEO on page optimization you've done. It will see everything that you've written. It'll see the content that you've said about your company, how long you've been a company, how long you've been doing this, the owner's name, etc., right? All your testimonials, all of your reviews, all of your photos, etc., right? It will see all of that content. If you're JavaScript, what happens is that Google does not always have rendering enabled. So rendering, I build all of my clients' websites in static HTML. I do not build them with JavaScript because what happens is that when they go to be crawled by Google, a majority of the time Google does not have rendering enabled. So what does that mean for you? So what that means for you is that a majority of the time when Google comes, it doesn't see that content that's on your page. So that plugin, that WordPress plugin, or the WordPress plugin your agency or whoever built the site for you is using JavaScript to pull in the review content from your Google Business Profile. As an example, it's running a script that Google's not going to see 100% of the time. So instead, we want to convert everything to static HTML. So every single time, 100% of the time, when Google comes by to crawl, it will see all of our content. And this is how I build all of my clients' websites. So now we're going to talk about site speed for a roofing company. So for your website, how fast it loads, right? So from the second someone clicks the link and all of the content's loaded, this is your site speed. For your site speed, it is not a ranking factor. So if your site loads slow or if it loads really fast, it's not going to impact your rankings. What will impact you is if someone lands on your site and it takes 8 seconds to load. So someone lands on your roofing company's website and it takes 8 seconds to load. At that 3 or 5 second mark, they're just going to close it and they're going to go and look at somebody else's website. So whenever I build my clients' websites, I have everything static HTML, so it's served super quick. I always think of the person that is not on Wi-Fi, and what I mean by that is when someone's not at home searching for your services or your products, that's who I optimize the site speed for. So if they're not on their home Wi-Fi, they're out and about, and let's say they may be in a bad section for service, I think about that person that is on a 3G network. That's who I optimize my site speed for. Because even if they're on a 3G network, I want them to load the site as soon as possible to see the information that we have, and I want to start getting them into our sales process. Yeah. So that's how I would rank a roofing company based out of Fort Worth, Texas. So we went over the Google Business Profile. We also talked about being a service area based profile, primary category, services on the Google Business Profile, name on the Google Business Profile, the website, your page structure, your money pages. Then we also talked about your blog content, going static versus JavaScript, and the domain name. To help ranking your roofing company, DM me the word local. If you would like a link to my 7-phase roadmap where we go over the keyword research, we go over the website structure, and we go over the Google Business Profile and more for free, drop down below the keyword roadmap. That's awesome to hear. You got any SEO questions? You got a Google Business Profile or a website you'd like me to look at? Are you saying how much would it cost to get a physical address Google verification without renting out a building? Is that what you mean? Oh, that's something we can discuss in DMs. Here, I'm going to link you my Instagram. Just DM me on Instagram with your name, like FINN303 or 73, right? And be like, hey, then I'll know it's you, and then I can help you out with that, okay? What type of business do you own, Finn? Like what service or what's your company going to do? Do you have a website already? Yeah. The other thing you want to consider is on my YouTube, I have a whole bunch of videos. I've got a whole bunch of long form, and then I also have a whole bunch of short form stuff, and I have other live streams on my YouTube channel. If you subscribe and then you go and look at all of those are also going to have a whole bunch of great content for you. And then I'm also I post a lot on Twitter or X if that's something you're interested in. You're going to have to, when you say building, you're going to have a location. So you don't have to have a commercial location. So when I say that, you don't have to have an auto, like when you think of when you go to get your oil change, right? You go into that location. You don't have to have something that big, but you can start off as a serviced area based profile. So you can do it from your home. You can have your house as a location. And then later when you get the $300 to $500 a month, you can then rent out a location. And let's actually go look. Let's see. Let's do this live. Where are you based out of? If you don't mind, just tell me the city. Dearborn Heights, Michigan. Okay. Let's see here. All right, I'm just getting something set up so you can see my screen, okay? Just give me a second. Okay. Can you see? You can see this? I need to get a better... Yeah, you can see this. Yep, okay. So it's on my screen. So let's see. Let's not do that. Let's close out of that. Yeah, so what you'd want is like a small little office space. You can do it with what you're asking. You just have to figure out how to do that. Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I have a Google Business Profile. So I'm visiting Canada right now and I have a Airbnb and I set up a serviced area based profile here. I created a new Google Business Profile. So there's mine. Yeah, but it sounds like you already know a little bit about this. So you definitely need to go and find like a little rental property, or you can try to figure out a way. Yeah, 100%. Physical addresses will always be better. I know there are like methods of getting around it. I just personally don't know. I've never done it. I've always gone the route of getting a commercial space. Yeah, it is a little bit. The only thing I'd be worried about is that if you get caught, you might lose the profile. Rather like a suspension or an outright loss of the profile. All right, that's the end of the stream.